Last episode, well, a couple episodes ago, we left off with Joseph, our main character. Sort of a loser, he had drip, and he was sold into slavery by his own brothers. Now, the question on everyone's mind, can Joseph make it out of the trenches with his BandLab rap career, or will he ultimately stay in the rat race forever? However, while that may be the question on everyone's mind, I would like to propose another question to you. How is it possible for a man to be sold into slavery by his day ones, his own brothers, and yet become a high-ranking official in Egypt? Well, let's
talk too much. Failed.
On a real though, if you haven't watched it yet, check that video out. That episode in Joseph ends with Joseph being sold into slavery by his own blood brothers. So, there's a little time skip arc, and Joseph is now working as a slave for this man named Potiphar. Potiphar's a high XP level 100 mob boss in Egypt, and Joseph, although he's a level 1 crook, like Daniel was at the start of his journey. Remember Daniel? Yeah. Joseph is low-key majestic. Like, he's literally just like me.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap right now.
And I'm not even adding this to the story to make it more funny, bro. This is actually a real part. Joseph was so handsome to a point where it was a problem. Most of you won't be able to relate, but fellas like me and Joseph are so handsome to a point where it's genuinely straight up just annoying, bro. Like, you're just trying to go about your usual daily routine, your usual life, and all you hear is, damn, who that? He fat. Like, bro, I'm not an object. I am a human being with real feelings too.
Shut your lame ass up, nigga.
My bad. So basically, Joseph is so handsome, and obviously he attracts a lot of women. And I know you losers are thinking, yo, that's so cool, what could possibly go wrong? Let me stop you right there. You guys clearly aren't familiar with the old adage, suffering from success. Because out of all the women to want Joseph, it just had to be his boss's wife. Yes. This is literally the plot of one of those level 100 mafia mob boss ads. Potiphar's wife keeps trying to move to Joseph, but Joseph isn't a snake, bro. Joseph is low-key solid. This guy turns her down every time. I want all of you to start taking notes right now. Putting you on is talking, listen, and learn. The first principle of being a hustler, regardless of your circumstances, do not be a snake, be solid. But the second Joseph turns her down, she pulls out the,
they slander my name, they fire my coach. And I felt like all that was on me.
Sean,
I was a leader.
Former Baylor University.
yes, bro gets hit with the essay allegations. So if you thought Joseph being sold into slavery is bad and his life couldn't get any worse, think again, buddy. Bro is now falsely imprisoned for sexual assault. Free my twin. Wait, no, he's not my twin. But despite Joseph's unfortunate circumstances, his potential as a natural leader still shines. Because in prison, the prison main guard guy sort of leaves Joseph in charge because of pretty privilege and stuff. No, I'm sorry, bro. Sorry, man. People like me and Joseph gotta be nuts for real. So in prison, the king's cupbearer and his baker get arrested for some reason. And I want you guys to pay attention to this part in particular. This is point 2. The art of networking. So the second these guys come in, they immediately understand the hierarchy of the prison, and that Joseph is technically the boss in here. So these two nerds have a dream, and our boy here, if you remember from last episode, Joseph can interpret dreams. So he interprets both of their dreams and essentially tells them that even though Pharaoh's low-key hates him at the moment, he'll come around and he'll free them both. So when you do get freed, put in a go- BAM! These two get freed, and what do? They instantly switch up on bro. These guys do not bring up Joseph at all. However, 2 years later, this Pharaoh guy has a dream. Pharaoh's dream is essentially that these 7 plump fat cows who get eaten up by these 7 skinny chopped cows. And then he has another dream, which is basically the same thing but with grain. So Pharaoh pulls the Daniel and he's like, give me every smart fellow we have now. And just then, the cupbearer and the baker guy remember, wait a minute, there was this one guy in prison who can interpret dreams. And that, my little sweet princes, is why networking is important. So Joseph gets brought in and he's immediately like, yeah, I can interpret dreams, that's my whole thing. So basically, the 7 fat cows represent 7 years of prosperity for Egypt. In those 7 years, Egypt will be doing amazing. But then the 7 skinny chopped cows represent 7 years of famine, where Egypt will not be doing well. And what he does next is what brings us onto point number 3, being assertive. Joseph doesn't just interpret Pharaoh's dreams, he also comes up with his own plan on how to save Egypt. So Joseph suggests that they spend the first 7 good years stocking up on grain and saving it, so that when the 7 years of famine hit, Egypt won't be in a crazy food debt, because they've got elixir reserves. Tap in, bro. Pharaoh loves the plan, and he immediately promotes Joseph like, bro, I'm telling you, pretty privilege is a real thing. Out of all my Bible videos, this might be the best promotion yet, because not only does this guy make Joseph his second in command, he gives him his old ring, a whole new fit, a brand new Canada Goose, yeah I know, goodbye Montclair, hello Canada, a new chain, a new chariot, an Egyptian name, and a Egyptian baddie, all by the age of 30. This man is winning!
Life like this sure is sweet, huh?
It definitely is.
So the 7 years of prosperity pass and Joseph's been doing really well with managing the grain, to a point where Egypt low-key looks like me during a game of Monopoly. They have so much grain stored that when the famine does start, Egypt is the only country with good grain. Yes, this fella Joseph monopolized the entire grain industry. This guy is he's just tough, bro. So naturally, people from other countries have to travel to Egypt if they don't want to starve. And that is a good segue for today's sponsor. Nah, I'm playing. Yeah, we're not sponsored, bro. Not yet, but...
Man, shut your...
That is a good segue into the rags to riches element of the story. Every rags to riches story is never complete without the revenge arc, the beat it chick arc. And I know it's been months since we met his brothers who tried to slime him over Montclair, but it is time. So their dad sends his 10 brothers, with the exception of Joseph's younger brother, the youngest, Benjamin, because his dad is low-key still upset about Joseph's alleged death. I mean, yeah, makes sense. So the 10 of them travel to Egypt and they have to come see Joseph and they bow down to... Pause. Remember Joseph's dream from part 1. If you don't, Joseph basically has a dream where he sees 11 stars and the moon like all bowing down to him. Bro, full circle moment. These guys are now bowing down to him. But back to the story. The second Joseph sees these guys, it is on sight. He immediately starts plotting because, bro, these fellas literally sold bro into slavery. Can you blame him? Joseph immediately starts G-checking them. He accuses them of being spies and they're like, no bro, we're all good guys. Good guys. If I was Joseph, I'd be so mad, bro. Imagine the guys who sold you, their youngest brother, into slavery over a coat. A coat. And it wasn't even an actual Montclair. I just made it up for the video. Be like... So Joseph accuses them of being spies. They keep telling him that they're not actually spies. That they're actually 12 brothers. But one of us died. So Joseph's like, alright, if you're really telling the truth, where's your 11th brother? And they're like, oh, he's at home because our dad's like really overprotective about him because our other brother died in a freak accident. Now Joseph's mad. These guys think they're slick, talking about some freak accident. So Joseph's like, alright, then 9 of you go back and bring your youngest. And until you bring him back here, this Simeon guy is staying here as prisoner. Simeon is one of the brothers, by the way. And only when I see this youngest brother will I believe you're not spies. And I'm not even making this bit up, bro. Joseph puts on the Pharaoh's life that these guys are spies, knowing full well that these guys are his brother. Like, this guy is amazing.
You did not start no car battery with your bare hands.
If I didn't, may God murder my children. I hate that I even spoke about that. If I didn't, may God murder my children.
No, don't say that.
Please, kill them today.
The brothers have a little group meeting and they don't realize that Joseph can actually speak their language. So they start talking about, oh, this might be karma for selling Joseph into slavery, and they do the whole...
Dude, Benson is totally gonna fire.
About how they have to get their youngest brother. And by Benson, I mean their dad, by the way. Yeah, I just explained the joke, guys. So while Joseph fills their bags with grain, he also puts the money they were meant to spend on grain back in their bags before sending them back without Simeon.
What?
This may be a little confusing right now, but Joseph is a smart guy. Trust the process. This man is actually cooking. So on their way back home, as they're traveling, these fellas decide to check the sacks, and that's when they start to panic. Because, just think about it, right? These fellas have just went into a brand new country where they've immediately been accused of being spies. And one of their brothers has basically been detained. And now these guys have just returned home with 9 bags filled with grain and cash. These guys look so suspicious. If you still don't get it, let me simplify. Imagine you've got a teacher who doesn't like you and is constantly on your ass trying to find any crumb to nitpick and to somehow find an excuse to be mad at you, right? This is literally how the brothers view Joseph. They have no idea why this random Egyptian guy is angry at them for. Bro, these guys probably think he's racist. So, when they do find the money back in their sacks, these fellas are shook. This could quite literally end all of their careers. This could easily be used as incriminating evidence. They could just be accused of stealing 9 full bags of grain. So these fellas get back to base and they tell their dad all the lore about how they were accused of being spies and how one of their bros has been detained. And they're not going to get him back unless they bring back Benjamin the youngest. So Jacob is like, yeah, you guys are not bringing Benjamin with you. Last time my youngest son went off with you fellas, he got murked by an animal. So Reuben, if you guys remember, the only sensible guy, and he's the guy that saved Joseph from getting killed in part 1. So obviously he'd have a really reasonable suggestion, right? Alright dad, I'll take Benjamin with us. And should anything happen to him, slime both my sons. Let me pull a Dr. Umar right now and say it again. Kill both my sons. I am pretty sure, with the exception of Joseph, these brothers have a shared IQ of like 20. This is like the ancient day equivalent to an alpha male. Why are these guys so stupid?
Have you heard average salary in the UK is 33 grand? Made that last month.
So at first these guys literally avoid going back to Egypt and leave Simeon out there detained. Yeah, I'm sure he's fine. But if you haven't checked the news, bro, let me fill you in. The whole world is currently under a famine, and Egypt is the only place where anyone can get grain at the moment. So these guys eventually have no choice but to go back. So after much persuasion, finally Jacob, their dad, allows to let Benjamin go with them. So now all of these brothers are back en route to Egypt to try and get some grain too. But this time they've got Benjamin. And when Joseph sees him, Joseph is genuinely geeked, but he's too nonchalant to show it. So he's just sort of like, yeah, throw something on the grill. A little bit of lore. If you guys haven't watched the first video, or you guys just forgotten, it's been a while. Joseph and Benjamin have the same mother, but his hateful ass brothers are all his half brothers. That kind of does explain a lot. So Joseph throws this massive feast for them, frees Simeon, and they all eat together, and the brothers are wondering 2 things. Firstly, why did this man switch up the second our youngest brother pulled up? And secondly, why are we all sat in order of our age? Yes, that's right, this Joseph guy may genuinely be one of the coldest guys in the Bible. But he wanted to leave little clues for his brothers. He wanted to play mind games with them. So he makes them sit in order from youngest to oldest. It's mind games, bro. You have to operate at a high level of intellect like me or Joseph to get it. After the feast, these guys collect their sacks full of grain and leave to head back home. Like 20 minutes into the journey back home, they notice a whole platoon of armed Egyptian men following them, almost hunting them. These guys pull over and they're like, yeah, we're gonna need to search the sacks. The brothers are shocked and plead their innocence, declaring that they did nothing wrong. In fact, they're so confident, they even offer to have their sacks searched. Egyptian guy pushes past them and opens their sacks one by one, moving through all 11. At first, everything seems to be fine, and it's just the sacks that they paid for. However, as he opens the last sack, the sack of Benjamin, placed gently over the grain is a chalice of pure silver. Immediately Benjamin is arrested, and the brothers follow behind, horrified, as they think of the potential consequences their youngest brother could face. Benjamin and the rest of the brothers are brought to Joseph's house. Joseph is furious, and he calls it a wicked act, and he's about to punish Benjamin with imprisonment or worse. I mean, he deserves it, right? Why would this guy steal the second in command of Egypt's chalice? What an idiot! But just as he's about to be punished, the 4th oldest brother, Judah, stands up, and he makes a heartfelt speech, seeking forgiveness on behalf of Benjamin, and he even goes as far as to offer himself as a sacrifice instead of his brother. And Joseph, hold on, did I just say appears to be furious? Yes, my beautiful sweet princess. This fella Joseph operates at a higher brain power than you guys, not me, but you guys. Joseph is playing 4D chess. After the big feast, Joseph told his steward to plant his silver chalice, a symbol of his authority. This is the equivalent of taking a Big Mac away from Rodwave. My bad. So Joseph told his servant to plant the silver cup in Benjamin's bag, and then as they leave, arrest these fellas. The plan was simple. See how the brothers react. Do they sell out their little brother Benjamin just as they had done to Joseph all those years ago? Or have they had a redemption arc? Are they changed men now? Are they willing to sacrifice for the good of their younger brother and for their family? And, well, Judah kind of clutched up for all the brothers. His willingness to sacrifice himself was enough to make Joseph break his nonchalant character completely. Bro reveals himself and tells his brothers with tears that even though these guys tried sliming him all those years ago, for his Montclair, he's leveled it up and now he's got a Canada Goose. And his life low-key looks like the intro to a Drake song.
Touchdown in the place you can't pronounce. Spinning the mouse, it's unfathomable in your bank accounts. Yeah.
After being shocked, his brothers are now terrified. Because, bro, I'm pretty sure 99% of people would slime their brothers if they were in this situation. But Joseph is a real one. He tells them that it's okay and that he does forgive them. And that brings me to point number 4. Forgive those who wrong you. I am never saying that again, bro. Hate. After hearing about this, his dad is super happy and he pulls up and he's like, no way, I thought you got off screen by a wild animal. And Joseph's like, nah, I'm too good for that. Plus, I low-key made it, Dad. You can move out of the trenches and live with me in Egypt now.
I bought a property in Egypt, and what they do for you is they give you the property.
His dad accepts, and he and his family live happily ever after. Until... That's for another episode, though. Thank you so much for watching, guys. This was low-key a fun video to make, even though it's really long. And, yeah. Firstly, I'm back. From now on, bro, expect more consistent episodes. Kind of. Moral of the story, in order to experience the quality of the Canada Goose, one must first be willing to lose the Montclair.